Hey, Soma peeps, Batman and Robin.
Hey, leaders.
These are the leaders that we're talking to. We're excited. So I've incorporated Robin into this study. But first we have to show off there's a Joker among us.
Yes. It's no longer just Batman and Robin. There is a Joker.
And Bruce Wayne. Let's not forget Bruce.
Oh, yeah.
So Joker shows up and he gives us, because he says, guys, Batman and Robin love the fun videos, but the quality sucks. Driving me nuts. So Joker gave us a tripod light deal because he says our lighting's jacked up, and he's tired of seeing the shaking film, so he gave us the camera phone tripod. Right?
It's pretty sweet.
It's pretty sweet. So we're now in the Batcave studio, and frankly, it's like blinding. So at any moment, we might have our sunglasses on. Now, here's the deal. The Joker does not want to be identified, but I can't hold a secret, so I'll just give you the initials. Robert Gillette. And Karina.
So sly.
The Joker never had a sidekick, but there was a sidekick here. I know there was a Joker sidekick. So, we're in the book of Philemon. We're excited about it. I'm going to put this up on the new Batman and Robin clamp deal. Clamps right in. The lighting's perfect. And so then I'll just proceed like I normally do now that I can hold the camera with my tripod. Thank you, Robert. It grips better, man, because I had to hold the phone like that. This is better. As you know, in the book of Philemon, last week, Paul opens this letter to this friend. It's beautiful. He's chained in prison. He opens his letter to his friend Philemon. What I like about Paul's perspective is he always focuses in on what people are, mostly. He always chooses to look at people in difficult circumstances and trials as what they are, the positive aspects, not the negative. And this last 2 weeks, I've been looking around at the relationships I've been involved with, and it's you know, I don't have a critical spirit, but I'm always aware of what people can't do or should be doing or not doing. I'm just aware of it. I don't focus on it. I feel like a positive guy. But Paul goes over and above, and he's getting ready to confront Philemon in a very delicate area, but he's always loving, and he's always, here's what I love about you. I love how loving you are with the people in your home. I love and pray for you always. I always thank God when I pray for you. I'm praying that you will put into action generously from your faith as you already been doing, but I want you to do still more. And then he changes the context of his little letter, and back 2,000 years ago, this would be an email or perhaps even a Facebook post, which I am not going to take part of, as we talked about that last week, because the friend part confuses me. Verse 8, he says, that is why, Philemon, that being I love you so much, and I'm so proud of you, and I always hear great things about you, and I just can't wait to see you again. And in verse 8, he says, that is why I'm boldly asking a favor of you. I could demand it in the name of Christ because it's the right thing for you to do. So he says, look, bro, I'm going to boldly ask you to do something. I could demand it. He doesn't throw that card. But I'm going to boldly ask you because of our love, I prefer simply just to ask you to consider this as a request from me. Verse 8 and 9. Paul, an old man now, a prisoner for the sake of Christ Jesus. And I was just struck with that. How it's difficult to be bold with friends when it comes to sensitive things. Maybe we see something in their life, they're repeating a pattern of destruction, they're always constantly involved in whatever, fill in the blank, addiction, toxic relationships, whining. I mean, there's 1,000 things that all of us humans deal with. When we watch a friend, a true friend, a real friend, dealing with a problem in their life, it's really hard at times for me, I don't know about you, Amy, to be bold. And I thought, and Amy thought, the best question for your group would be, why is that so difficult? And I thought we would have the famous and infamous Amy Gable, a.k.a. Robin, answer from her own life. Why can that be so difficult?
It's hard to confront people. People aren't always interested in hearing what somebody else has to say. And they put off a standoffish aura about them, and they just don't even want to hear. So it's hard to even get through. I've had times when I wanted to confront people or even tried to, and it just doesn't come off well. I love Paul's idea of writing a letter. I often, when I can't get my words quite right, when I feel like I'm going to do something in person, I just sit back and write a letter and try and let my heart speak as to what I'm trying to get across to him.
That's an outstanding idea. Now, as a man, if from brother to brother, if you write me a letter, dude went chicky on me. What happened there? What happened? But from a woman's perspective, that's outstanding. That's why we have group discussion. She says that. I go, well, that makes sense. but I'm not doing that. And so just that's a great discussion. Why is it so difficult to be bold? Or maybe you have some people in your groups that are too bold, offensive, abrasive. Maybe that's the one thing you need to confront that friend with. Bro, I love you, but you're always repelling people. You're abrasive. So why is it so hard? Then the second part of your group can be in verse 10. He says, I appeal to you to show kindness to my son, my child, Onesimus. I became his father. He became my son in the faith while I was here in prison. He drops a stinking nuclear bomb on his friend Philemon. We don't know this yet, but Onesimus was a slave of Philemon on another continent. He either stole from Onesimus, ran from Onesimus. There was conflict between Paul's new spiritual son, Onesimus, and Philemon, his old master. He bolted from Philemon. Maybe he wasn't treating him right. We don't know. We just know it was not a good situation. Philemon finds his way to Rome in a prison, meets the Apostle Paul, and comes to faith. Paul says, Philemon, I love you. Here's what I see about you. Here's what I love about you. Now I'm going to ask you in love. I'm going to appeal you boldly. Let's relook at Onesimus. Your situation has now leaked into the Roman Empire, and now I'm dealing with it. But you are looking for him for a different reason than I was. I wanted to win him to Christ. I think about Michael Jordan getting cut from the basketball team his junior year in high school. I think of Joe Montana being asked as a young man in junior college, or I forget what college, to sit on the bench for 3 years because you can't play football. We give up on people. Paul says, Philemon, I think you probably gave up on Onesimus a little early, so I just led him to the Lord. Now we have an issue. And so that's the next question is, when do we, because Paul says throughout Scripture, and Jesus says, look, go to a town, preach me, share me. If you're rejected, wipe the dust from your sandals and move on. When do we wipe our dust from somebody, and when do we dig in? When do we not give up on that individual? When do we disciple that individual? When do we minister to that individual? That's another great group. Any thoughts on that, Fabulous Amy Cable?
Yeah, that's really hard for me. I'm always trying to not give up on somebody, but sometimes you need to let a break happen. I don't know, it'll be interesting to hear what the group members have to say on that, but I think God is always extending his hand out to us, and so even if we dust, what's that phrase, when you dust your feet off?
There's a phrase.
Yeah, there is a phrase.
And it's not coming to mind.
Me either, but you all know what I'm trying to say, and so even if we do that for a moment or a season in life, I think what Paul's trying to say is, even if you've felt that way at once, you know, God can change somebody's heart and make a difference in their life, and it doesn't mean that we should give up on them forever, even if it's just for a season.
Mm-hmm. And so that's the group question. When do you give up? When do you continue to press in and minister? But Paul's key was he's so bold with Philemon. I could see Paul in prison with Onesimus saying, brother, quit sucking your thumb. You're running from some dude in another continent. What you really need is Jesus. If Paul is bold with Philemon, I'm sure he was just as bold with everybody else. Last question. In verse 12 is the key. He says, well, let's go 11. Onesimus hasn't been much use to you in the past. We're going to look at that next week. But now he's very useful to us both. I'm sending him back to you, and with him comes my own heart. Because Paul loved Onesimus, he could be bold with him and squeeze him. Because Paul loved Philemon, he could be bold and squeeze him and bring difficult conversations and topics to the table. In Ephesians 4, have your group read Ephesians 4 and verse 15. The whole chapter of 4 is unity in the body, how to live the thing called the way in community. And instead, we will speak the truth, go about in your life, truthing is the original language, in love, growing in every way more and more like Christ, who is the head of the body. So everywhere we go, we should be truthing in love, though, because there's a flick out. What was that flick where the guy was so truthful that he was just abrasive to everybody? You know, where he just would, what's his name, Bill Carey or John Carey or whatever, the guy that was in Mask was in it.
Oh, Jim Carrey.
Jim Carrey was in it, and he was like truthful,
The movie.
Mr. Truth, and he was so abrasive.
Oh.
Remember that?
The one where he couldn't lie?
Yeah.
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 Liar.
Liar.
Liar, liar.
Didn't see it because I'm a Christian and I don't watch those kind of movies. But truthing in love, to have your group read 1 Corinthians 13, which is the context of not romantic love, but how to use your spiritual gifts in love. Verse 12 is the gifts. 13 is use all that in love. What's that look like to go about truthing in community, in love, in the context of 1 Corinthians 13? Then you can look at Matthew 7, where Jesus says, look, don't judge each other with the log, because I think if your group was honest, the hard thing about being truthful with people is you feel like you're Mr. Judgment, because you don't typically have the attitude of love sometimes when you want to confront your friend. You're angry at them or tired of them or whatever. Look at Matthew 7, where he says, don't judge each other, but instead remove the specks in your brother's eye. We all have specks. We all have issues. That's the context of this great relationship. That's what we see Paul doing with Philemon. Brother, I love you, and I love Onesimus, so let's talk about the speck. Amy Gable, Mark Campbell from the Batcave. Hope this is helpful. And again, you don't have to show the video, of course, but just giving you a little leg on the situation, some options. Hope you guys are enjoying the study. We're probably going to spend like 5 weeks in the study, because there is a cast of characters at the end of the letter that, well, you'll see when we get there. Anything else?
Nope.
Houseboat.
Oh, houseboat.
You're going to be getting a big invite this week.
Yeah. And pancake. Breakfast for the kids. We're doing a fundraiser. I'll put you the details in your email.
Bunch of details.
Announce that to your group.
We love you guys. We're proud of you. Peace.